Attorney Cayosa.
Thank you, Justice Gutierrez. Good afternoon, Chief State Counsel Paras. Our records show that we last interviewed you in 2014 when you applied for a position in the Sandigan Bayan. In fact, you were included in the short list. Today, however, you are not just an aspirant for the Supreme Court, but you have also submitted your application for the Sandigan Bayan again.
That is
How
right.
about with the Court of Appeals? Did you want to be considered for the Court of Appeals as well?
No, my application, Your Honor, is for the Sandigan Bayan and the Supreme Court.
Our records also show that you did apply for the Supreme Court last year in December, but you withdrew your application on the ground that you were nominated for candidature of the Philippines to the seat in the UN Committee on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. What has happened since candidacy?
That is right, Your Honor. The then Secretary of the National Economic Development Authority nominated me, upon my surprise, to be a member of the ECOSOC committee, which will review the performance of states in the compliance of the Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. However, there has the Department of Foreign Affairs could not pursue my application since the geographical distribution of the committee was already filled up, and it was reserved for China. In the United Nations, Your Honor, they would like to give in to whoever is first, which submitted its recommendation. So I had to, well, I was not nominated. I did not pursue. The Department of Foreign Affairs did not pursue my nomination.
Should you have been nominated and I guess an appointment, no, for that position, when would you have assumed? When would you have assumed office? Should you have been appointed to that position?
Your Honor, the committee meets 4 times a year. For every time they meet to review certain states on the report, it will take at least 1 month. So I will be out of the country for 4 months.
Okay. Thank you, Chief State Prosecutor. Now, the records also show that you still have a pending ombudsman case. When we verified just end of October, there is a motion for reconsideration in the case filed by a certain Attorney Redentor Viaje. Could you tell us something about this case, Attorney Redentor Viaje's case against you?
Your Honor, what I know is there is only one case, that of Kang Tai-sik, who filed a case against all of us when he was ordered deported by the Bureau of Immigration. Secretary De Lima and myself were respondents in this case. However, what I stressed was that this person, the Korean, filed a motion to reopen the case. And upon my recommendation, I told Secretary De Lima to refer it back to the Bureau of Immigration to hear the case. And that is what we did. When the Bureau of Immigration reheard the case and ordered his deportation and imprisonment and detention in Bicutan, he filed a case against all of us. Well, that is the risk, Your Honor, they say, of public service.
I am sure that you are aware that the rules of the JBC provide that should there be a pending ombudsman case, notwithstanding an earlier resolution dismissing if there is still a pending motion for reconsideration, then that would be a basis for your possible disqualification for nomination.
I will submit, Your Honor, if that is the rule.
Yes.
But I was pleading to Ombudsman Morales. This case has been pending for 1 year. And were it not for my appointment and my following up the case, it would not have been it would not have moved.
Okay. Yes. Moving on to other issues raised against you. How is your health? How is your health?
Well, Your Honor, because of course, I underwent an operation, a major operation in 2010, when they found a polyp in my abdomen, in the large intestine. So they had to cut it off. But of course, I never prayed so hard in my life that after the laboratory tests, for 4 different laboratory tests, they found it to be negative. It was benign.
Now, we are just concerned because if you just turned 60, is it not? You just turned 60. You turned 60 this year.
I am 60 just July.
Should you be appointed to the court, will you aspire to finish all the 10 years remaining or before mandatory retirement? Or would you consider early retirement upon reaching the age of 65?
No, Your Honor, I would certainly opt to work until 70. This is how I work. When I assumed the position of Chief State Counsel, which, according to my friends in the department, undersecretaries and secretaries before, they said that was a difficult job. But this is my 12th year. Every day that I learn something new, it enlightens me, it encourages me. I wake up at 3:30 just to read all the opinions of drafts made by my state councils. Because in the office, Your Honor, I do not have time to read. There are so many visitors. The secretary will call me. Meetings are come here. On the average, 3 meetings a day.
Thank you, Mr. Chief State Counsel. There is a conflict between your previous boss and your current boss, Secretary Aguirre. What can you say about the apparent quarrel, and how have you been handling this, having worked with both now Senator De Lima and Secretary Aguirre?
Well, Your Honor, I was never requested by Secretary Aguirre to work in any of the cases or investigation made on Secretary De Lima. But both, I would suppose, they know my value in the department. I worked with them fruitfully. Secretary Aguirre has entrusted me with several opinions, like on the opinion regarding the validity of coming up with the emergency powers on traffic, the list of exceptions to the freedom of information. These are matters which I would venture that he would not entrust to anyone.
My final question. There is now a move in Congress to reinstate the death penalty. What are your views on death penalty, and do you believe that it is a deterrent to crime?
Your Honor, Of course, this is a legislative prerogative. Whenever they ask me for an opinion, that is my standard answer. But the problem with the death penalty is that this is a view. If a criminal is caught in the act of committing a crime and the victim is still alive, and he knows that if the victim stays alive, he will be prosecuted and he will be executed. What will the criminal do? He will kill the person. That is the pros and cons. But of course, if it is proven that it is a deterrent to the commission of a crime, then why not? But we will look into statistics.
Your personal opinion. What is your personal opinion? Should there be a reinstatement of
I
the
would
death
suppose it should be a deterrent, and so I would go for the reimposition of death penalty.
Okay. With that, I wish you luck. Thank you, Mr. Chief State Counsel. Thank you, Justice Gutierrez.
Thank you so much, Attorney Cayosa. May we request Attorney Mejia?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Chief State Counsel Paras. What do you consider as your significant achievement as Chief State Counsel of the Department of Justice?
Well, there is no specific case because every day I do the opinions. I do opinions not only for difficult questions of law, but opinions on all the loans, the foreign loans contracted by the Philippines. As Chief State Counsel, I am part of the Interagency Committee to review foreign loans under the Monetary Board. We review its compliance with the Foreign Borrowings Act and the ODA law. There is an enumeration of the requisites of an ODA law. This is needed by a developing country. The problem with the ODA law is, of course, most of the creditors want a tied-in loan. Whenever they loan to the Philippines, they want their contractor to handle the project. But what can we do? It's give and take, give or take. And then I also handle extradition cases and mutual legal assistance. I handle the case of Bangladesh because Bangladesh requested for legal assistance because the OSG entered its appearance for AMLAC, and they work for the forfeiture of the fund of 15 million surrendered by Kim Wong. When the fund was declared surrendered or declared forfeited, it was forfeited in favor of the government unless there is a third-party claim. This is where I came in. And so the Bangladesh, they will have a high-level delegation coming to thank the Philippine government for what we did for them.
Could you tell us, Chief State Counsel Paras, an instance in your career where your independence or integrity has been put to test or was put to a test? Your independence and your integrity.
Well, I could not think really of my independence being put to the test. No. For example, our family has never been in business. My grandparents, my father has brought me up the way that the old-fashioned way. So we never had any dealings with businesses or conflict where a member of the family was involved.
Let me let me now turn to some of the questions tweeted, no, that are being requested to be asked to all candidates. Should justices have a liberal interpretation of the Constitution, or should they adopt a purist view?
I think that it should be liberal. For me, it should be liberal. The law is not stagnant. The Constitution is a living Constitution. It should apply to several circumstances. The liberal view is more as compared to the conservative view. For me, is much more is needed in a developing country like ours.
Thank you. That was my final question. Good luck again, Chief State Counsel, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Attorney Mejia. May I request Judge Ilaw to continue?
Thank you, Justice Gutierrez. Good afternoon, Chief State Counsel. According to your personal data sheet, your service record has entirely been with the government, beginning as a trial attorney at the Solicitor General in 1984. You have not been engaged in private practice, feeling the impulse of a trial lawyer.
I have never engaged in private practice, although my stint at OSG was like private practice, Your Honor. As a matter of fact, when there was a change in leadership, Frank Chavez, the late Frank Chavez, wanted me to stay with him because Frank was more of a litigation lawyer. He wanted me to be there, but then Secretary Ordonez convinced me to join him to go to the Department of Justice. But through the years, I have, like for example, in my stint in the department, we have also, aside from litigation, we deal with decisions or we rule on the constitutionality or legality of municipal tax or provincial tax ordinances, as well as the disputes between two government agencies on pure questions of law.
What do you have to say regarding the controversies now at the Department of Justice? There's been a report that alleged illegal drug trade as being supported and or protected by certain officials of the Department of Justice to which you belong.
Your Honor, I had visited the New Bilibid prisons and all the other prison colonies. The problem there is that for me, the superintendent is the king.
And
He
who is
wields
the
so
queen?
much power.
Who is the queen?
Whoever is the head of that, he wields so much power. And so he can be easily tempted. In the past administration, how many times did they change the Bureau of Corrections director? And they all came practically from the military.
But, excuse me, going back to your service record of servicing the government, I noticed that most of your references come from private sector, lawyers from the Ayala Group, Meralco, and San Miguel Corporation. Can you explain how they have seen and can attest to your integrity, competence, independence, and probity as a public servant?
Well, I would suppose so, Your Honor. For example, Solomon Hermosura, who is the top legal person in Ayala, can attest to my integrity. My wife works as the head of the corporate services division of Ayala, legal.
So, Attorney Hermosura can attest to your wife's integrity, but not your good self?
No, but I know Mon, and there are times that we talk socially, and there are exchanges of legal what is happening in the legal field.
About Attorney Ray Espinosa from Meralco.
Ray Espinosa was my classmate, Your Honor, a good friend, and he was our number one top-notcher in our class of 1982. He is the top man, I would suppose, the top legal executive of the MVP group of companies.
About the last one, Mr. Ramon S. Ang of the
Ramon Ang, I knew
San Miguel Corporation.
because of my cousin. My cousin is an executive of San Miguel Corporation, Oscar Paras Jr., who was once the senior assistant GM of the Manila International Airport.
Most of your knowledge in law, as well as experiences, and as more particularly as Chief State Counsel of the Department of Justice, well confines from extradition cases and legal aid. Would that be enough for you to be considered by this council as an associate justice of the Supreme Court?
May I request for to repeat?
With your limited knowledge in law as a Chief State Counsel, merely confined as a Chief State, handling extradition cases as well as you mentioned other cases, would that be enough for you to be, by this council, to be considered as an nominee to the Supreme Court?
Your Honor, in the Department of Justice, the Americans or the foreigners who deal with us are of the impression, and they tell me this, after realizing what I do and the coverage of my work, they say, you know, taking aside criminal cases, which is the work of the prosecutors, all the others are yours. I said yes. From the opinions to the work of to extradition, to international matters, and even refugees, Your Honor. I am the chairman of the Refugee and Statelessness Persons Unit, of which not many know that we are signatories to the Refugee and the Statelessness Convention.
All right, as Chief State Counsel of Department of Justice for over 12 years, what novel changes have you effected in your office that were never effected before by your predecessors?
Your Honor, for one, the influx or the entry of the free trade agreements and our accession to the World Trade Organization in 1994 created a very different aspect on international and even local trade. I believe in the principle that what the Filipino does not know how to do, forget it, don't do it. Let us concentrate on matters which we know what to do, how to do, and then import at a low level of tariff. That is how the international things, the trade is now at present. Of course, we should protect certain sectors like agriculture. We should protect our farmers, because if we import rice from Vietnam which produces rice at a very low cost, and we import them, our farmers will be at a disadvantage. This matters, Your Honor, will eventually reach the Supreme Court.
These are business matters. Can you apply these changes to the Supreme Court if you were appointed as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court?
Will I?
You've been talking about business matters, as you mentioned, to be changes in the Department of Justice as a Chief State Counsel. Would this apply, these changes, to the Supreme Court?
Oh. No, I was just saying matters, Your Honor, which change the face of the work which our state councils do. Which is why what I did when realizing that free trade agreements and brought about by the World Trade Organization would be a thing of the future, I sent out several state councils to Geneva to study these matters. This is what I introduced, whereas before, only the Chief State Counsel and the Assistant Chief State Counsel usually go abroad. I democratize the going abroad.
All right, thank you. My time is up. No further questions. Good luck, Chief State Counsel.
Thank you so much, Judge Ilaw. Good afternoon again, Chief State Counsel. Okay, in answer to one of Judge Ilaw's questions, you said that when Americans and other foreigners went to the DOJ, they told you, aside from criminal cases, all matters, laws are yours. So, and I understand you have written thousands of opinions. Mr. Chief Counsel, supposing the President requested you, your opinion on whether the International Criminal Court of Justice has jurisdiction over extrajudicial killings, what will be your opinion?
Well, Your Honor, the ICC only exercises complementary jurisdiction, which means to say that as long as our courts are open, they cannot exercise jurisdiction. So we will have to make it a point. And this will be my advice to the President. Keep the courts open. Keep the cases. There is AO number, I think 99, or there is an administrative order on creating a task force on extrajudicial killings. And it is my view that this should be strengthened. What should happen, and I think this is already the trend, is that we should not be adversarial. There should be a mixture of inquisitorial and adversarial, where the prosecutor should, but the prosecutor who will not conduct preliminary investigation will help the law enforcement in the investigation of a case.
So your opinion will be the ICC will not have jurisdiction over extrajudicial killings in this country because our courts are open.
Yes.
Okay. Counsel, supposing our police, our prosecutors, our courts do not take any action. As it is now, how many have been killed? More than 3,000. But what has the government been doing? Supposing no action has been taken by all pillars of our justice, how can now the ICC acquire jurisdiction over these extrajudicial killings? Supposing we are unwilling to do anything, not only unwilling, but we do not want to take any action, how can the ICC acquire jurisdiction over extrajudicial killings?
Well, Your Honors, the ICC, well, the Commission on Human Rights, the Committee on Human Rights, they can send special rapporteurs in the Philippines, and that would be the start. We should welcome special rapporteurs, although there are some sectors in government who frown upon the entry of UN experts. But let's be open.
Under the ICC provisions, jurisdiction may be acquired in the following manner. The state party may refer. Number two, the prosecutor of the ICC may act on information being received by her or him concerning our extrajudicial killings. And then the Security Council of the United Nations can also, take action by advising the prosecutor to take action and to inform the pre-trial chambers about these extrajudicial killings. So, Counsel, next question is, do you consider or do you believe that these extrajudicial killings constitute crimes against humanity?
Well, Your Honor, if it is of that, while it has not reached that proportion, there is still the claim, although I have not investigated, that the killings were subject of a shootout, which of course will have to be investigated, and they are being investigated. But if it is wanton already, if it reaches a proportion that there is already tyranny, then of course we should admit that they can assume jurisdiction and let us appear before the court to present our evidence.
Counsel, let us see, the ICC or the Statute of Rome defines crime against humanity this way. It is a crime when committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack against civilian population. Do you consider or do you think that this extrajudicial killings is a part of a systematic scheme as an attack against civilian population? And the crimes may be murder, killing, enforced disappearances. This is the definition of the Statute of Rome.
Your
A
Honor,
systematic attack against civilian population. And then the enumeration or the provision enumerates all classes of crimes considered crimes against humanity.
Your Honor, if it is not really on the population, but a specific group, criminal elements, Your Honor.
The drug lords, isn't it?
Your Honor, just
This is the group being attacked. Drug suspects, drug lords, drugs users, isn't it?
but Your Honor, each case is different from the other. The manner and the circumstances which led to the deaths may have to be investigated and would have to be, and we will look if there is really a systematic, meaning to say a uniform way of doing matter, of achieving the purpose.
Consider these extrajudicial killings as genocide.
As,
Genocide. Genocide.
no, Your Honor, because it is not yet, it has not reached the proportion of genocide.
What is your understanding of genocide?
Your Honor, genocide is the elimination of a group of people, of a race. Here, these are criminal elements, and each crime. After all, Your Honor, it is, I think until now, it is, there is no, you cannot deny, no one can deny the fact that these are known drug lords. There are evidence in the past of what they are known in the community as people who deal with drugs, which is why their neighbors do not talk.
Yes, because genocide as defined by the Statute of Rome, is a crime, the intent of which is to destroy in whole or in part national, ethnical, religious, or racial groups. And so we don't think that these extrajudicial killings constitute genocide, right?
Your Honor, it is not yet genocide unless you deal with, as I said, criminals cannot be. It's not a race. It is not a
particular group.
It cannot be a particular group. Nobody can claim legitimacy to a group
And that
of
therefore
criminals.
you can send that kind of opinion to President Duterte. Next question is, again, I'm asking for your opinion. If President Duterte asks you your opinion on whether it is constitutional or legal on his part to suspend the writ of habeas corpus at present, considering the present situation of our country, will be your opinion.
Your Honor, in the Constitution, there are only two grounds for the suspension of the writ of habeas corpus and the proclamation of martial law, which is invasion and rebellion.
But therefore, your opinion is he cannot.
I think what he should do is to call, which he has done, is to call the calling out provision, which is to suppress. Calling out power, which is to suppress lawless elements.
Do you think this
There is no invasion.
concerning the calling out power meaning to say he will call the armed forces of the Philippines? Think on the part of the armed forces, do you think it is successful in suppressing lawless violence, invasion, or rebellion? Present, what is your view?
They can, Your Honor. It can be sufficient, but it will entail a lot of bloodshed. Because, for example, the President Estrada tried it when he called an all-out war in Mindanao. What happened? A lot of people perished. But he wanted to finish them off, were it not for the fact that he was taken out of power.
Last question, Mr. State Counsel. Of course, under the Constitution, the President has the power to declare a state of national emergency, like in cases of typhoon, pestilence. But why is there still a need for Congress to pass a law authorizing him to exercise that power, declaring a state of national emergency? Can he not just, perform acts provided by the Constitution without the law from Congress?
I think, Your Honor, the reason is because the President is being equipped with a power which is not allowed by law. For example, if he wants to, there is an infrastructure destroyed. He wants it immediately repaired or put up again. Then he can be empowered to award it by negotiation
Can you apply that on our present traffic mess?
It can.
In your opinion, what do you think Congress will provide in its law authorizing the President to take action as a remedial measure with respect to our traffic congestion? Can he not, question, can he not take over private utility or buses for public use to be operated by the government? Can he do that if there is a law?
But it would be better that if that there is a policy provided for by law.
That's right, Counsel. That law is needed so that there can be a national declared policy on the part of the government. Thank you and good luck.